Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time. This is a book review video. It's a book review video that I wasn't expecting to make. So I am right at the end of reading The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and basically when I've been reading it, I've been reading a few short stories while I've been reading this sort of big book, deep book, very densely written book. And as I was getting to the end of it, I started Confessions by Kanae Minato. And basically, I've read this book in 2 sittings. So I read the first chapter in the first sitting. And bear in mind, I started this thinking that I was going to just interweave this book with the other book and wasn't going to read this book particularly fast. It's not huge, but I basically read the rest of the book in 1 sitting. So it was 2 sittings in all because I could not put this book down. It's so compelling, brilliantly written. The tension was palpable. It was such an interesting story. It's very disturbing. It's very intense. It's not nice. I'll give you, it's a funny one as far as giving too much plot away in a review because it's not just a spoiler thing, but to be honest, I think the less you know about this book, the more you'll enjoy it because there's so many surprises in it. There's so many moments where the plot takes a left turn. There's new information given to what's happened because a lot of the book is written where you're retrospectively looking at something that had previously happened. And basically the information is built up through the book. And so many times you're like, oh, okay. Oh, that happened. Oh, that happened. And it's utterly unpredictable, but it's also really, really compelling. And the way that it's written, it's all first person. Although actually no, the first chapter second person, which is unusual, and I don't normally like second person narratives, but that works so well because basically the book starts off with a teacher confronting her class with her perspective on her daughter dying and saying that it was a murder committed by 2 people that are in her class. And the way that's done is very direct. It's very to the point. The class react as you would imagine they would react. The way that the teacher speaks is very direct and authoritative, kind of cold. And there's that kind of coldness to her character throughout the book, really. But clearly, there's a lot of psychological damage that's come from her daughter being killed. And as the details get revealed through the book about what happened, it gets more and more disturbing and more horrible. And the fact that there's 2 boys that are involved in this death of this teacher's daughter, who's only 4 years old, is really, as you might imagine, very disturbing. The 2 boys are like 13. And that's how the book starts, with this first chapter where this teacher in second person narrative is talking to the class about the fact that she knows what happened to her daughter, and basically she has set up a punishment for those 2 boys. And it goes on from there, and each chapter, they're quite long chapters, but each chapter is a different perspective. There's basically 5 different perspectives through the book, and it's called Confessions because each time something new is revealed. And you get more depth about the characters, but you also get more depth about either what happened when the 4-year-old girl died or more information about what happened afterwards. So it flips back and forth time like crazy. But it's done really, really well. And one of the things about the reveals is when you start reading each chapter, you don't know straight away who's speaking, and then the name will come in. You go, oh, okay, yeah, cool, it's that. The 2 of the perspectives are the 2 boys, and when you're reading that, it's only when someone's name is mentioned that you can connect. Okay, it's that one. And that's really interesting because that switches it slightly or changes it. And then obviously as the details get revealed through that chapter, then it starts making even more sense. So yeah, the format and the way it's written is really interesting. It's such a good book, so compelling. But it basically discusses various different things. So clearly this is about crime and punishment. It's about justice. It's about the motives of someone that might be a sociopath, basically, because there's an element to some of the characters that they have very little empathy with what they're actually doing. So that's explored in it and how that might have arisen. The family backgrounds of the two boys is explored quite a lot through the book. And there's a kind of a thread of motherhood and relationships to mothers. There's an absence of fathers in the two boys' relationship and in the mother, the teacher mother character as well. So, you know, there's not a lot of male adults in this story, which is kind of interesting as well. So all of this sort of stuff is discussed. And as you might imagine, when they're discussing, or when she's discussing the potential for a sociopath to be produced from a dysfunctional background, it's kind of about disconnection and how a disconnected youth could be absent of empathy, and how that can result in this violence. And that element of it is really interesting. But what I think is the best thing about it is it's so unpredictable, which is why I don't want to say too much about the plot, because there's so many things that happen, and the ending is so good, and the ending is not what you would expect, but it's also, it's written in a way that clearly the author knew that each chapter needed to bring something new to the plot and to the, whereas the pieces get put together. The last piece is very important because it's a story about revenge, and revenge that kind of goes wrong. A revenge that kind of gets unraveled, and then, without spoiling anything, doesn't necessarily go away. There's still an element of revenge, but it's not where you expect it to be. It's not what you expect it to be, and who you expect it to be given to. And it's deeply satisfying. And at the end, I mean, I will repeat, it's very disturbing. It's satisfying if you're happy to read this stuff about violence to a young 4-year-old girl and that kind of thing. But it's very satisfying as far as the way that the story concludes. And I could not put it down. That second session when I started reading it, I did not want to read it for that long. And I stayed way into the wee hours finishing it, and I couldn't not finish it. It was just phenomenal. So yeah, really, really impressed. Hopefully I've given you enough information to be enticed without so much information as too many spoilers. But yeah, I was quite blown away by this. Confessions by Kanae Minato. Thank you very much for watching. Stay curious, everybody.
Paint me a picture